Hi, this is Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. We're going to start out tonight with two college basketball coaches who had very similar career arcs. Both were legends at their institutions. Both won national championships in two of the most memorable championship games in college basketball history, and neither ever returned to those heights again. The first is Jud Heathcote, who died recently at the age of 90, and he was the Michigan State basketball coach for 19 years, and his career was somewhat undistinguished except for one 2-year period where he recruited one of the great college basketball players of all time in Magic Johnson, who helped him win a national championship in 1979 in the famous Michigan State-Indiana State game featuring Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. It's the game that brought college basketball to big-time television. Here's the Michigan State website on Jud Heathcote.
In his first season on the Spartan bench, Heathcote managed only 12 wins.
So here's Jud Heathcote. First season. He's this guy from Montana. He's not winning games. Nobody knows who he is. And he's got the recruit of all recruits down the street. He has to get Magic Johnson.
Lansing native Irvin Magic Johnson was the prize in a heated recruiting battle between Michigan State and Michigan, a battle that proved to be Heathcote's most important victory during his first season on the job.
Next year I will be attending Michigan State University.
Magic Johnson was not looking at Michigan State that hard until Jud Heathcote said, I think you're a point guard. You come play for me, you can be a point guard. That was the game changer. It didn't just change Magic Johnson. It didn't just change Michigan State. It changed basketball forever.
His first year on campus, Michigan State hosted North Carolina. This is North Carolina. Dean Smith and a team that's in the Final Four every other year. And you could have shot a cannon off in Jennison Fieldhouse and not hit it. Within 24 hours after Irvin committed, you couldn't get a ticket. You'd have a better chance of being at the White House inaugural than you would of being at a Michigan State basketball game. That's how big it was. That's how important it was. That's how much it meant to this community.
Well, as I said, Jud Heathcote coached that 1979 team featuring Magic Johnson and also Greg Kelser and Jay Vincent to the championship. They were the best team in the country, and they beat an undefeated team featuring Larry Bird. Larry Bird's team had beaten DePaul, featuring Mark Aguirre and an injured Curtis Watkins in a very close game in the semifinals. Here, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson talk about the championship game.
You know, when I was in college one time, I was watching a game on TV. They had this home box office thing. And I turned on this game. They were playing against Russia. And I was watching Magic play, and I go, oh, my God, that's the best player I've ever seen play, because I didn't follow basketball. And he was a sophomore at the time. I remember telling a friend of mine, I said, they're going to win the NCAA Championship this year. Well, we go all the way through undefeated, and there's Magic standing there. It's just like it was made to happen.
Everything was written with Bird versus Magic, Magic versus Bird, that whole thing. And it wasn't Indiana State versus Michigan State anymore. It was Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson.
We got beat because they were the best team. They was the best team in college basketball at that time. We knew we was going to play against a great team, Michigan State. By watching them on film, I knew it was going to be the best team we played against all year, but winning 33 games in a row, you know, you sort of take teams light. And I don't know mentally if I was as prepared as I should have been for that game because, I didn't have a good game. I shot like 7 for 20 from the field, and our team relied on me to score. So if I had a week to go back on, probably that week to prepare and get ready for that game.
Realizing that this guy is going to be a nag or a thorn in my side for a long time. I was so emotionally drained. I never felt like that after playing anybody. And so I knew that this was going to happen for a long, long time.
Well, after that, Jud Heathcote had some pretty good teams, but he never made it deep into the tournament. He did, however, hire an assistant named Tom Izzo, who took over and has done pretty well for Michigan State basketball. Our second coach is Rollie Massimino, who died recently at the age of 82. He was an institution at Villanova where he coached for 19 years, and his team won the national championship in 1985 in another one of the most memorable games in NCAA history, perhaps the greatest upset in the tournament finals, when his unheralded team beat the defending champions and heavily favored Georgetown Hoyas led by Patrick Ewing. Villanova played an almost perfect game that night and won by 2 points, and here's a description of that famous upset.
If you go back in time, you have to remember how dominant the whole Georgetown program had become under John Thompson. Not only dominant, but they were intimidating. When they walked into someone else's building, people would look at them in awe. What are you doing? But because Villanova had played them twice already during the season, they weren't looking at them with awe. They understood how they played, and they knew what they had to do.
And after tonight, we'll know just how good this Georgetown team is.
The one thing that I've always thought about that game is that John Thompson kept his team too far from Lexington. The Hoyas stayed in Louisville, and I always thought that that put them at a disadvantage before the game even started. They got caught up in a little bit of traffic coming down on that Monday night, and it's never good to have 6'7", 6'8", 7-foot athletes sitting in vans waiting for traffic to clear so they can get to the game. I think the one thing that experts have always thought about the game is that had there been a shot clock, Villanova would not have won it. Rollie Massimino and the coaching staff did a superb job of controlling the tempo of the game.
They go into four corners, they're going to try to spread Georgetown out.
But if you take a stopwatch and you go back, many of their possessions would have exceeded today's 35-second shot clock.
Right now, I don't know why he would allow Villanova to hold the ball. This really plays into Rollie Massimino's hands.
That's why we don't get the monumental upsets of a North Carolina State and a Villanova today. When you have a shot clock, talent wins 99% of the time.
Look at this shooting percentage against Georgetown. Both of them are playing like champions.
I think anytime you're broadcasting a game with a big underdog, you really don't give them a realistic shot at winning until the last 3 or 4 minutes. You're always waiting for the talent to step up and take charge. But as the game wore on, it was becoming apparent that Patrick Ewing and the Hoyas were not dominating at both ends of the floor. So with about 2 minutes to go, I said they're going to pull this off.
And Villanova has moved to the brink of capturing this championship.
Villanova had done it, and you realize that it was one of the biggest upsets in the history of the NCAA tournament.
Oh, and nobody thought they could do it. No one thought we could do it, but I did. So did they.
Yeah, Rollie Massimino did think they could do it, and he planned it out perfectly. He never reached those heights again at Villanova, and in fact, his later teams were plagued with scandal, including the admission that his point guard that year had played a number of games in the tournament, not the championship game, but a number of games under the influence of cocaine. In the long run, that really hurt Massimino's reputation, but no one ever said he couldn't coach, and that 1985 upset of Georgetown is proof positive. Well, by way of introduction of our next subject, there's this.
Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man. Steve Austin will be that man. Better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.
Well, that's the intro to the $6 Million Man 1970s TV series. And no, our subject isn't the $6 Million Man. It's Richard Anderson, who died recently at the age of 91. And he played Oscar Goldman, the man from OSI who was in charge of the $6 Million Man. He was a nice Jewish boy from Long Branch, New Jersey. He scuffled around in television until he got that role. And he not only played Oscar Goldman in the $6 Million Man, but he also played it in The Bionic Woman, starring Lindsay Wagner. He's one of the few guys to play the same character in 2 different series. Here he talks about his role as Oscar Goldman.
There were 2. There was the $6 Million Man and The Bionic Woman, which came as an offshoot from the original $6 Million Man. And that was the big one. Those were the big ones in terms of popularity. And it was at a time when everything was down. It was the Vietnam War had just ended, and everybody was down. And we came in with a hero, a young man that got hurt in an aircraft, and then we had to rebuild him, make him better than he was, better, faster, stronger. and I was the guy that sent them out every week. I played the role of the OSI man. And then when we found that we wanted to get a lady in the organization, not just myself and Steve Austin, Lee Majors, we found a lady that came in to do one segment, Lindsay Wagner, and from then on, they decided to do the Bionic Woman. So I was doing 2 films at the same time, and I had a fast driver who had air conditioning in the summer and heat in the winter. So that were the ones that are the most famous and still are. The legs just go on; they don't go away.
We're going to close tonight with our feature. Shelley Berman, who died recently at the age of 92, was born on the west side of Chicago, not too far from my mother. Nice Jewish boy. He was a monologue comedian. He did some acting at the Goodman Theater. Then he went to the Compass Players, which was the forerunner of Second City. We talked about that when we did the Mike Nichols podcast. And then he broke away to become a solo comedian. He got his big break at Mr. Kelly's on Rush Street. He was topical and he was in the Mort Saul vein, but he did phone comedy where he would do one side of a conversation. Same as Bob Newhart around the same time. He claimed Bob Newhart stole it from him. Bob Newhart said phone comedy was an old bit from the 30s. In 1959, his debut album went to number 2 in the country, won a Grammy Award, and he was all over television. Jack Paar, and Here with Judy Garland.
The reason for this whole thing is a very funny, very amusing man, Mr. Shelley Berman.
Hello. No, I'm afraid you got the wrong number there, fella. No, fella, you've definitely got the wrong number. Listen, fella, I'm telling you, you've got the wrong number, and stop calling me Dorothy. I don't care how low your sister's voice is. My name is not Dorothy. I'm not your sister. What's the matter with you anyway, buddy? Oh, my goodness. Well, stay right where you are. I'll be right with you.
Yeah, Jackie Leonard once said, if no one answers that phone, he's got no act. A documentary caught him as a sort of an unflattering character, and his comedy act wore thin, so he went to drama. He was in the 1964 movie The Best Man, where he played a key role, but his greatest drama role was in Twilight Zone, as a misanthrope like his comedy characters.
If you'd really like to know, Mr. Rogers, if you'd really like to know precisely why I am so damn tired, you want to try coming to work on the subway at 7:30 every morning, then jamming into an elevator like part of a herd of cattle, then working in that cacophonous din that you call an office. Always get jostled, always get shoved, always get pushed around. Take hold of yourself, Beechcroft. For goodness sake, man, take hold. I'll take hold, Mr. Rogers. I'll take hold when I can achieve that millennium, that absolute perfection that comes with solitude. You read me, Mr. Rogers? People. If I had my way, here's how I fix the universe. I'd eliminate the people. I mean, cross them off. Get rid of them, destroy them, decimate them. And there'll only be one man left. Me, Archibald Beechcroft Esquire.
His career had really hit the skids, but he had a revitalization when he became Larry David's father in Curb Your Enthusiasm. And here he talks to him about how Larry's mother died.
She died?
Yeah. Dead. She dead. And she didn't want me to bother you.
What does that mean?
Well, you were in New York, you were having a good time, so we didn't call.
When did she die?
See, the funeral was on a Monday.
The what?
So she had to die.
Funeral?
Yeah, funeral.
Why wasn't I... I'm not at the funeral? What do you mean?
No.
Monday was the funeral.
Well, Monday was the funeral.
Well, why wasn't I at the funeral? Why didn't you call me?
She told me not to bother you, you know.
She told you not to bother me? What's that supposed to mean?
You were in New York. You were busy.
So what? What do you mean I was busy? You give me a call. You didn't call me?
We didn't call you.
You didn't call me to tell me my mother died?
The last word she said to me, anything happens to me, you don't bother Larry. You don't spoil his trip in New York.
It's insane.
The woman did not want to bother you.
I missed her funeral because she told you not to call me? Is that what you're telling me?
That's right.
Shelley Berman was a funny guy. Well, I'm going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer and IT genius, Sid Tepps. And since we've lost 3 comedians in a very short time, Dick Gregory, Jerry Lewis, and Shelley Berman, I thought I'd close tonight in honor of Shelley Berman with a little bit of Dmitri Kovalevsky's Comedian's Gallop.